When a narcissist starts to lose control, they don't realize what's happening, but you do. You begin to see cracks in their mask, small signs that something bigger is shifting. They appear restless, paranoid, and strangely empty. This isn't random. When God begins to act, it doesn't always look like lightning or wrath. Sometimes his justice starts quietly, by letting the narcissist live long enough to face the truth they've spent years avoiding. Divine punishment doesn't come as thunder. It comes as exposure. The narcissist built their life on illusion, on convincing others they were untouchable. But when that illusion begins to crumble, everything they relied on collapses. Relationships, reputation, confidence. Suddenly their charm doesn't work. Their lies sound hollow, and their manipulations backfire. What you're witnessing isn't coincidence. It's consequence, and it's orchestrated by something higher. God doesn't punish the narcissist with violence. He punishes them with truth. The very thing they ran from becomes the mirror they can't escape. They start seeing who they really are, not the powerful figure they imagined, but a scared, broken soul pretending to be in control. This realization is their torment. They feel it in silence, in sleepless nights, in the loneliness that grows deeper even when surrounded by people. One of the first signs that God is dealing with a narcissist is isolation. People who once admired them start drifting away. Friends stop trusting them. Even their closest allies begin to sense the darkness they hide. Slowly, their circle tightens until they're left alone with themselves, the one person they've always avoided. To a narcissist, that loneliness feels like hell because it forces them to confront what they truly are. Another sign is the loss of control. The narcissist thrives on domination. They need to be the center of every room, the puppet master of every life around them. But when divine justice moves, control slips through their fingers, plans fail, manipulation backfires, and people start seeing through their act. God doesn't destroy them instantly. He lets them watch their own kingdom fall, brick by brick, until they can no longer pretend it's standing. You might notice that their confidence fades. The narcissist who once walked like they owned the world, now second guesses every step. Their voice trembles when no one is watching. They begin to doubt the very lies they told to survive. This is what happens when pride meets divine truth. Their mask no longer fits. What they built through arrogance begins to collapse under the weight of spiritual reality. They might still post, smile, and boast online, pretending life is perfect. But behind that performance lies panic. They can't sleep, they can't focus, and they can't find peace. They've lost their source of control. You, the person who once fed their ego, has been replaced by silence, and silence is God's loudest tool. It reminds them that their power was borrowed, their charm temporary, and their reign over others already expired. When God starts to deal with a narcissist, he exposes their truth to the very people they fooled. Suddenly, their manipulative charm doesn't work anymore. The friends who used to defend them now look at them differently. Their reputation starts to crumble, not through gossip, but through truth revealing itself. This is divine exposure, not vengeance, but correction. Because God doesn't humiliate the narcissist to destroy them, but to stop them. The narcissist begins to feel trapped in their own mind. They can't escape the guilt they once denied. They replay memories of the people they hurt, not with remorse, but with fear. Fear that they've gone too far, that they've lost something they can't replace. This mental unrest is divine. God doesn't need to strike them down. He simply removes their peace. And for a narcissist, peace is the one thing they can't fake. Financial or social decline often follows. The narcissist who once seemed untouchable begins to lose opportunities. Deals fail, connections disappear, luck fades. But don't be fooled. This isn't karma, it's orchestration. God removes their blessings, not to be cruel, but to humble them. The things they idolized, money, power, admiration, are taken away so they can no longer hide behind them. Every loss becomes a mirror, reflecting their inner emptiness. You'll also notice their charm stops working. The same words that once seduced, convinced, and deceived people now fall flat. Their audience has changed. God has opened the eyes of those around them. The narcissist begins to sense the shift, feeling invisible in places they once dominated. That invisibility isn't random, it's divine. It's what happens when truth starts shining brighter than illusion. Their health often begins to reflect their spirit. Stress, exhaustion, sleeplessness, their body starts to carry the weight of their actions. The smile they wear in public can't hide the fatigue in their eyes. Because when you spend years pretending to be powerful, eventually the soul demands payment. God doesn't need to break them physically. He allows their own emptiness to drain them slowly from the inside. What's even more revealing is how obsessed they become with you. The moment you detach, they feel powerless. They start checking your social media, asking mutual friends about you, and even pretending they don't care while secretly watching. They can't let go, not because they love you, but because your peace reminds them of their punishment. Seeing you calm while they crumble is divine justice in motion. When God starts dealing with them, their lives start conflicting. They forget details, mix stories, and contradict themselves. The mask they wore so perfectly begins to crack under pressure. People notice, the charm fades. The manipulation unravels. God doesn't expose them all at once. He lets their own mouth be their downfall. Their downfall isn't orchestrated by others. It's written in their own confusion. They start to feel the silence they once gave you. Remember how they ignored your pain? Now they taste that same emptiness. People they rely on suddenly stop answering their calls. Their messages go unread. The same isolation they used as punishment now becomes their own. This is not revenge. This is reflection. God allows them to experience the very loneliness they created in others. As their world starts to collapse, the narcissist becomes restless. They can't sit still, can't find joy, can't escape their thoughts. They chase distractions, new relationships, new hobbies, new control, but nothing fills the void. This emptiness is the beginning of divine justice. God doesn't destroy them with fire. He removes their ability to find satisfaction in anything false. What once brought pride now feels meaningless. You may see them smiling, pretending they're thriving, but pay attention to their eyes. The emptiness there is louder than any confession. Their laughter feels forced, their confidence fragile. This is the face of spiritual punishment. When joy becomes performance, the narcissist can't tell where the mask ends and the truth begins. And as God removes their false sense of power, every illusion they built begins to crumble in silence. They start losing influence. People stop trusting them, even without knowing why. Doors that once opened easily now remain closed. Conversations end awkwardly. Their name doesn't carry the same charm anymore. This is divine reversal. What was once elevated by lies is now lowered by truth. God simply flips the balance, and the narcissist feels the terrifying weight of standing without support for the first time. You'll notice a strange pattern. They keep repeating old cycles, trying the same tactics that used to work. Manipulation, guilt, charm, intimidation. But now, nothing sticks. They can't figure out why their magic stopped working. The truth is, it was never magic, it was permission. God has closed the door they used to walk through. Their access to other people's energy, sympathy, and control is revoked. They're locked out of their own illusion. Sometimes, the punishment looks like confusion. The narcissist begins forgetting who they told what, living inside the chaos they once created. Lies twist back on them, leaving them paranoid. They start seeing enemies where there are none. Every shadow feels like betrayal. This paranoia is divine. It's the reflection of what they did to others. The manipulation they once used becomes a mirror they can't escape from. As divine correction continues, they lose their sense of direction. Their plans fall apart. Projects they bragged about stall. People they relied on walk away quietly. It's not bad luck, it's divine interruption. God doesn't allow pride to flourish forever. The narcissist built their life on control, and now that control is being replaced with confusion. What they used to manage effortlessly now feels impossible. Even their confidence in relationships fades. New partners don't trust them, old ones avoid them, and potential ones sense something off. Their reputation silently erodes. This is God's way of protecting others from their harm. The narcissist is left to face themselves. Stripped of admiration, the punishment isn't loud, it's lonely. For someone who craves attention more than love, isolation becomes unbearable. Then comes the phase of self-pity. They start telling everyone they're misunderstood, that people are cruel, that life is unfair. They craft a victim story, hoping someone will rescue them. But this time, God ensures their manipulation falls flat. Their words ring hollow, their tears don't move hearts. The very empathy they exploited has dried up around them. Their audience has left the theater, and they are performing to silence. Divine punishment often disguises itself as opportunity. The narcissist might think they're getting a new start, new job, new romance, new platform, but everything built on pride eventually crumbles. They can't sustain blessings they didn't earn. Each success turns sour because they carry the same corruption into it. God allows these false new beginnings not to reward them, but to expose them further through their own choices. One of the most painful consequences is the loss of admiration. The narcissist survives on worship. When people stop validating them, it feels like suffocation. They'll go to desperate lengths to regain attention, posting excessively, bragging, starting drama. But none of it works anymore. Their glow has dimmed. The applause is gone. And God lets them feel what they made others feel, unseen, unheard, and unimportant. When they realize they can't manipulate their way out, rage begins. They grow bitter, attacking others, spreading rumors, trying to regain dominance. But the more they lash out, the more they expose themselves. Their anger becomes evidence. People start seeing the truth they once hid so well. This is how divine justice works. It doesn't need force. It lets pride dig its own grave, while humility stands quietly beside it. Sometimes the narcissist's punishment is internal. They start to hate their own reflection. Mirrors become uncomfortable. Their thoughts grow heavy. Their rest turns restless. They question why peace eludes them, unaware that peace only lives where truth does. God's correction doesn't destroy, it humbles. But humility feels like pain to someone addicted to control. So they resist, only deepening their suffering. You might wonder why God allows them to keep functioning, even while crumbling. It's because He wants them to see the truth firsthand. He wants them to witness their own undoing. Each failure is a message, each sleepless night a sermon. But narcissists don't listen to words. They listen to loss, and God knows that the only language they truly understand is consequence. They'll try to fill the silence with new people. They'll hunt for new admirers, new supplies to feed their ego. But God will place barriers in their way, discerning souls who see through their charm. Every time they think they've found another victim, truth exposes them again. Slowly, the narcissist realizes that what once came easily now costs too much, and their energy begins to drain faster than they can rebuild. At night, their punishment grows loudest. That's when the facade fades, and the echo of their own guilt becomes deafening. They may pretend to be at peace, but the quiet knows better. God doesn't let them rest comfortably, because real rest requires righteousness, and without repentance, sleep becomes a war zone. Every regret they suppressed starts replaying in the dark, and there's nowhere left to hide. As time passes, the narcissist becomes a ghost in their own life. They lose passion, purpose, and drive. They wander through days pretending to be fine, but nothing feels alive anymore. This spiritual numbness is divine judgment, the withdrawal of God's favor. For years, they used energy that wasn't theirs, people's love, people's trust, and now, without it, they're empty. The soul they neglected is starving. They might notice that everything they touch starts to fail. Friendships fade, plans crumble, and even small joys disappear. This isn't coincidence, it's correction. God allows failure to remind them that success without integrity is temporary. Every loss becomes a message. You can't outrun truth. But the narcissist, instead of learning, blames everyone else. Pride blinds them from seeing that their punishment is actually a lesson. At this stage, they start longing for you again. Not because they've changed, but because your absence haunts them. You were their peace, their stability, their emotional mirror. Now, without you, they face themselves, and they don't like what they see. This craving isn't love, it's desperation. God allows them to miss you, not as a blessing, but as a reminder of what they destroyed through arrogance. Eventually, even their fake joy fades. The parties, the posts, the drama, all of it starts to feel exhausting. They look around and realize they've surrounded themselves with people who don't truly care. That's divine isolation at work. God separates them from everyone who enabled their pride. Now they have to face the silence they used to give others. Silence, for them, becomes punishment. For you, it became healing. The narcissist begins to sense that something spiritual is happening, though they can't name it. They feel watched, cornered by fate. Every lie they tell seems to backfire instantly. Every manipulation gets exposed. They call it bad luck, but it's not luck. It's God saying, enough. He's stripping away their power, one illusion at a time, until the only thing left to confront is themselves. Their emotions become unstable. They cry without understanding why, rage without cause, isolate without comfort. The arrogance that once carried them becomes too heavy to wear. They start questioning everything, their worth, their charm, their identity. This is divine dismantling, not cruelty, but correction. Because the narcissist can't find God until they lose the idol they worship most, themselves. They might even start talking about faith, posting spiritual quotes, pretending to be reborn. But you'll know the difference between appearance and repentance. True change shows in humility, not hashtags. God isn't fooled by performance. He waits for brokenness, real surrender, and until that happens, every attempt to appear righteous becomes another mask that slips the moment night falls. Sometimes divine justice arrives through reflection. The narcissist meets someone just like themselves, manipulative, selfish, and controlling. For the first time, they experience their own tactics from the other side. They feel used, deceived, and betrayed. That pain isn't random, it's the mirror of their actions. God allows them to taste their own medicine, not to destroy them but to make them understand. They'll often try to escape this by running new jobs, new lovers, new places. But the problem follows them, because it's not the world turning against them, it's their spirit. Until they confront the truth, every new beginning becomes another ending. God doesn't let them rest, not out of vengeance but out of mercy. He's giving them chance after chance to repent before pride consumes them completely. The saddest part is that most narcissists never realize it's God correcting them. They blame the world, their ex, their boss, anyone but themselves. And in doing so, they miss the lesson. Divine punishment isn't about revenge, it's about revelation. But revelation requires humility, And humility is the one language the narcissist refuses to learn. They'd rather stay broken than bow to truth. If you've noticed the narcissist suddenly losing friends, opportunities, or confidence, don't interfere. What's happening isn't your battle, it's God's. He's doing what you couldn't, teaching them consequences through experience. You were the warning, now he's the lesson, and his lessons never fail. Stay silent, stay peaceful, and let divine justice do what human effort never could. Your peace is part of their punishment. Every time you smile, every time you thrive without them, it burns their pride. God uses your healing as a mirror. It's not revenge, it's redemption. Yours, not theirs, because your strength proves what they denied. That love without control exists, that compassion without fear is real, and that peace belongs to the one who chooses truth. Over time, the narcissist realizes the energy they once mocked. Empathy, kindness, humility was the very thing keeping them alive. Without it, their life feels hollow. They become addicted to drama just to feel something. But drama is noise, not nourishment. The peace they rejected now feels unreachable. And that distance from light is the quietest, most devastating punishment of all. They start aging differently. Stress carves into their face. Bitterness dulls their eyes. What used to make them attractive, confidence, charisma, now feels forced. Their external decline mirrors their internal decay. God doesn't need to strike them down. He simply lets time reveal what truth always knew. Arrogance doesn't age well, but humility remains timeless. If they ever try to come back, it won't be love that brings them. It'll be guilt, curiosity, or pride. But you'll recognize it instantly. God will give you discernment. You won't feel tempted, only thankful. Thankful that you escaped before their punishment became your problem. You'll see their suffering not with hate, but with distance, knowing that justice has already been served. In the end, divine punishment is not about destruction. It's about exposure. God doesn't ruin people. He reveals them. The narcissist's fall is simply the unveiling of what was always true. Their downfall is proof that deceit can survive for a season, but never forever. Truth always outlives manipulation. And when God decides the show is over, no mask, no charm, no lie can keep the curtain from falling. You might feel pity, even compassion for them again. That's natural. Your empathy hasn't vanished, it's evolved. But this time, you won't confuse pity with purpose. It's not your job to save them. God's justice doesn't need your help. Forgive them quietly, bless them from afar, and keep your distance. Mercy doesn't always mean reunion. Sometimes, mercy means letting consequence finish its work. The narcissist's true punishment is the awareness that comes too late. They finally see the value of what they lost. Your loyalty, your love, your calm. But by then, God has already elevated you beyond their reach. They'll try to call, but your peace won't answer. That silence will echo louder than any sermon. Because nothing haunts the narcissist more than knowing they can't control what they destroyed. When you witness their downfall, don't celebrate. Instead, understand that this is divine order restoring itself. What they took from others, they're now paying back. What they mocked, they now crave. What they ignored, they now face. You don't need to wish them harm. Their own actions have already written the ending. Your only job is to keep walking toward the light that once scared them. In the end, God's punishment isn't about pain, it's about truth. The narcissist built a life around lies, and truth is the one thing that burns through illusion. So if you've noticed the signs, their isolation, confusion, and loss of peace, understand this: justice is already here. You don't need to fight or explain, just watch, heal, and rest. Because when God begins correcting what broke you, even silence becomes divine revenge.